Is accurate, and again, I'm not in a position yet to make that judgment, but if that is accurate, what you're basically saying is that within the government of the United States, there's a group of people who believe that they possess something that they don't need to share with anybody, including elected officials who they view as temporary employees of the government, and in essence, some sort of an internal military complex that's their own government and is accountable to no one. So it would be a huge problem if it's even partially true.
Really is pretty wild to think about, a government culture of silence and someone deciding what we need to know and what we don't need to know, and even our highest ranking government leaders like Senator Marco Rubio being kept in the dark. Where better to go now than to Roswell, New Mexico, where UFO enthusiasts from around the world are gathering this weekend. I want to welcome back to the program UFO investigator Ben Hansen. He is also a former FBI agent and host of the Discovery Plus program, UFO Witness. Thanks for being with us again tonight, Ben. I was thinking about this today because we focus so much, obviously, on what David Grush said, and then Senator Marco Rubio responding and saying that there were other whistleblowers out there. That was really the headline for the last couple of days. But when we went over his whole interview, it's also very interesting to think about the fact that even if you put the UFOs aside, the possibility that there actually is a secret government program that even our leaders don't know about, that there's no one accountable for this program, it sort of blows your mind.
Yeah, and Brian, I think that Senator Rubio is spot on. I know it can be frustrating. He's talking about kind of running into brick walls. They've been tasked to task Arrow, the new UAP task force, to look into these things, and they're not getting the answers they want. But I think when politicians this generation get there, it's a little bit of naivete to say, that they didn't expect this, because it's not the first time. We can go all the way back to Senator Barry Goldwater, who his friend General LeMay at Wright-Patterson, he demanded that he show them, that his friends show him the materials, the bodies reportedly, stored at the airbase. He was flatly denied and chased out of the airbase. We have, President Carter, who made all these campaign promises, becomes president, stops talking about it, and then of course the Clintons, both President Clinton and Hillary. Looked into this, and they still to this day imply that they were perhaps lied to. I mean, how would that be to be the president or, president-elect? You're running on a campaign, and to know that there's some sort of maybe puppeteer above you that's running the show, and not even the president of the United States has a need to know the full story of what's going on.
Yeah, like who's the boss of that person? Who's the boss of that department if it actually exists?
Well, I think the structure of how these things are done is kind of the process of how that all works, because when you're working in special access programs, a lot of times your own supervisor doesn't know what you're working on. They're not read onto the program, right? And if this has been going on for decades, it's probably parsed out not only within the government to very, very small units within different agencies, but also into the private sector. And as we know, a lot of these private contractors cannot be FOIA'd. You can't get the Freedom of Information Act stuff. And so when you're going to ask the questions, you may be talking to the wrong person. And then, Arrow themselves may not have the access they need to ask the questions. And so it's very, very difficult. And I can understand why they're demanding, but they're very frustrated they're not getting the answers.
It's just, yeah, it's fascinating and disturbing all at the same time. Okay, so tell me about what's going on now in Roswell. I see there's people behind you gathered. This is really the big weekend there where believers from around the world come to Roswell. What's happening tonight?
Well, this is going on all weekend, and the crowd behind us is waiting for the sun to go down. What I do at these events, aside from lecturing on this stuff, is we bring a night vision setup. So we have like night vision military grade stuff that we hook up to a big projector. And then I kind of walk them through there have been an increase in sightings, a lot of it. So people want to know, what are we seeing? And we give them kind of education on satellites, what those look like, and other objects. And sometimes we get lucky, we find some things we can't explain.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. Is the vibe different this year since this has sort of gone more into the mainstream? I mean, like I've never covered a UFO story until the last month. It seems like this has sort of crossed over ever since David Grush came forward.
There's a lot of excitement. I would say we've got the people who have always been into the subject dragging their neighbors and their friends, their spouses, and they're like, I've never been to one of these things. Is it weird? And you see them sitting there and then start nodding their heads. So yeah, it is a little bit different vibe, and people are waiting. Just today we had Representative Tim Burchett, who remotely popped into the conference and told us about the plans for the next UFO hearings. And those are planned, he wouldn't be exactly specific, but the last weekend of week of July is what we're looking for those new hearings. And so it's a very exciting time.
It goes away. If anybody comes forward and says, hey, there's actually UFOs, UAPs, and we've got our technology, which I want to dive into with it, that it already exists, it disappears. It goes off radar, or somebody is made to be a fool or a fraud. What in the world is going on, Carolyn?
With the new generation of young minds and enthusiasts and their curiosity in mind, what would you reply if asked if you could give just one fundamental reason for personal passion in pursuing the truth about the UAP topic? What would it be? What drives you onward?
Wow. Boy. I don't know if I need a cup of coffee or if I need like a bourbon to answer that question. Maybe I need both. Boy, Christina, you know, a couple things. Look, the greatest accomplishment in my life is my two daughters. I have two daughters, and they are the reason why I live and breathe. Incredible human beings. And since they were little tiny babies, I always told them the truth. And then let them decide for themselves. I want my daughters to grow up in a world where they don't have to be fearful of their government, and they can trust those people who have been put into positions of responsibility and take their oath seriously, like I did and my colleagues. This is a topic that involves every single one of us. It does not belong into the providence of any type of organization, government, religion, institution. It belongs to all of us equally. And what drives me is the fact that your generation has an opportunity to fix the screw ups that my generation made. You know, we did a lot of dumb things. We did a lot of selfish things. And as I've said before, this is a topic that's not like fine wine, where the longer we keep a cork on it, the better it gets. This is a conversation like rotten fruit in the refrigerator. It's starting to stink, and it's been in there a long time. And we have a choice. We can either clean out the fridge, or we can allow it to rot inside the fridge and eventually rot everything else. We have a sacred responsibility in the government to ensure the trust of the American people. Working for the government isn't a job, it's a calling. And it's something that is very profound for me and many others, and are willing to give our lives for that cause. And I think that this conversation has been squelched far too long. Too many good people have been ridiculed, lost their security clearances, lost their flight status, and much more because they saw something and they didn't know what it was. And I resent that. I resent that there is an organization out there or people out there who are willing to ruin the lives of other human beings simply because they don't want to have the conversation. That's more of a threat than any UFO flying over a nuclear sites, because that's destruction from within. And you know, I took an oath long ago to defend this country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I've never been relieved of that oath. They didn't say when I retired, oh, Lou, you don't have to do that anymore. You know, you're no longer held by that oath. I still am held by that oath, and I believe in that oath. And I think, you know, I do this when I see young people like you that are fearlessly asking the questions, because my generation failed to. My generation was too, excuse my language, chicken shit to do it. And you guys are coming out and doing it. You know, I still serve you. You're still my boss. The American people are still why I wake up in the morning and I do what I do. You know, I haven't stopped serving my country. And to see finally my boss, i.e. you and other Americans, step up to the plate and say, no, we want to know more about this, and we don't care about the consequences. We want to know the truth. That to me is it's profound. It's amazing. And this is why I do it, because you are going to be the leaders of our country in the near future, for good, bad, or indifferent. It's you. You're going to inherit this country, and you've got to make it a better place, and hopefully learn from our mistakes. Don't do the same bonehead mistakes we did. Please, for the love of God, if we want the species to evolve, you know, you don't have to behave like us gorillas. You can, you know, take this topic and give it the attention that it deserves. And maybe in your lifetime, maybe you'll have an answer, maybe not. But at least you don't have to be afraid asking the question, because in my generation, we couldn't even ask the question because it was so fraught with stigma and taboo.
Your names are going to be in history, and you're going to go down as cowards and lying sacks of shit is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. All of you guys. Crimes against humanity, man. Against both you guys. You both know. Grush has been there. He's been investigating this for 4 years. You have had classified briefings for the last year and a half. You are a lying sack of shit. Both you guys. Both of you. You're going to go down in history. You're going to go down in history as cowards and people that lied. Crime against humanity. Think about that. Everyone, all you guys, all you people that know about this stuff, that knew for years, and you let us just wonder what's out in the universe. Are we alone? I wonder if we're alone. Why you knew? Why you knew?
Che cosa avrei dovuto fare, secondo voi? Non c'era altro modo! Ammettere un errore simile avrebbe esposto il nostro governo a danni colossali e richieste di risarcimento. L'economia sarebbe crollata. In un istante avremmo perso la supremazia e la nostra leadership, subendo immediate sanzioni. E probabilmente saremmo stati banditi dall'accesso al più grande mercato della conoscenza e dell'intelligenza. È questo che avreste voluto per i vostri concittadini? Condurli dritti alla rovina e al degrado? Forzarli a fare un salto all'indietro di 1000 anni? Il nostro consiglio ha ritenuto giusto proteggere i nostri cittadini prima di tutto. Non è forse questo il suo dovere? È il mio? È il vostro? O preferireste rischiare di rovinare la nostra economia per il bene di un mucchio di...
Selvaggi?
Voi siete totalmente influenzati da questi esseri. Non confondete la questione. È lui la minaccia. È lui il nemico.
Lei è il peggior nemico di se stesso, comandante. Se non farà pace col suo passato, lei non avrà un futuro.